Hello, I'm Monty from Montysmagic. This is the first video in a new series of videos I'm starting on magic and misdirection. There'll be a whole series on them. I'll be covering 15 different types of misdirection and maybe more as we go along. So I hope you enjoy them. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel because there'll be a lot more of these coming, and I'm sure you'll find them useful. Of all the tools that you have in your arsenal as a magician, misdirection is probably the most valuable tool in your arsenal, and it's probably also one of the most difficult ones to really learn and definitely to master. You see it, of course, with any professional magician that is doing really well in magic. They've learned to master it very well. So it's really worth the effort if you want to improve your magical skills. All magic requires some type of misdirection, and good magic uses multiple types of misdirection in each and every performance. So let's get started. Most lay people think of misdirection of basically a magician say, hey, look over there, while something else happens on stage. And technically that's kind of correct, but it is much more subtle than that. Good misdirection is never seen and never noticed. If people even suspect you're misdirecting them, then you've done something wrong. So it's something that you only get rewarded by good performances. Nobody will ever say, wow, that was good misdirection. Not even another magician, because another magician won't notice the misdirection if you do it correctly and don't point it out to them. Misdirection works because you can only see one item at a time. I know most everybody thinks they can multitask, but that is not true. What multitasking really is the ability to switch back and forth between different objects at a very, very fast pace. So basically you're doing one thing for a fraction of a second, then you're doing another thing for a fraction of a second. You really only can focus on and do one thing at a time. So in good misdirection, this is what we're doing. We're controlling that one item that they do and look at a time. Plus we're taking some advantage of a lot of natural responses in the human body and a lot of senses that people use in making decisions subconsciously on what they are looking at, doing, seeing, feeling, and things of that nature. Let's start with just a couple of real quick examples of the type of thing we're taking advantage of when we're using misdirection. Say you're driving down a road, a freeway that's 70 miles an hour or whatever. Try to read the license plate in front of you and the sign on a billboard off to the side of the road at the same time. You can't do it. You have to very quickly switch back and forth between the two. Now you will get both done by the time you drive past the billboard, but you cannot do them simultaneously. And because we're doing this on a freeway at 70 miles an hour, it's easy to understand how you can't multitask, how you're switching back and forth. This is one of the reasons why so many accidents on the road happen, because you're very briefly just, your attention is deviated, like at a cell phone or a billboard or something like that, and you don't see something else that happened very quickly in front of you. Second example, I want to demonstrate how easily the mind is deceived. Now, this will work on everybody, but a lot of people won't see it right away. If you try it for a little while and try it different ways, you will actually see this happen. Take and hold your hands out in front of you at arm's length, okay, straight out like that, with 2 fingers up like this. Now take your eyes, so if you're take your left eye and focus on your right finger, okay, and concentrate very hard on that, but close your right eye. And what'll happen if you concentrate on that a little bit and get the right spacing back and forth, you'll see the left finger, this one over here, completely disappear. Now, that is because there is actually a blind spot in everybody's eyes. We don't realize it for that reason, because you'll notice what happened. Not only did the finger disappear, but our mind actually filled it in with what it thinks should be there. Well, that's the concept of misdirection. We take advantage of this by directing the focus at a given point and let their mind fill in that gap that is missing from what they think is the rest of the information. And your mind is actually that easily tricked. One of the common mistakes new magicians make in misdirection is to basically say, well, I don't want to see this, so I got to get them to look someplace else. That is true, but that is not the goal you should be trying to achieve. As a magician, you should ask yourself, what do I want the spectator to see? Not what you don't want them to see. Because if you concentrate and control what they see, the part you don't want them to see will take care of themselves. I honestly believe every performer should have complete control over what the audience is looking at every given minute. We have to control what they're looking at all the time, but they can't realize that we're doing it. You've seen this a lot with things like applause cues and stuff like that, where a very subtle movement causes a response in the audience. Well, that's what we're taking advantage of. We'll cover, like I said earlier, 15 different things at least, maybe more, depending on how many videos I do in this series. But we'll go through each one and how each one is used to control where the audience is looking. So I'm going to be talking about what I call focus points. And basically the focus point is where the audience is looking. So we have to control at every second, every fraction of a second in our performance, we should be controlling and know exactly where the audience is looking. If they're not looking there, we're doing something wrong. So in the rest of these videos, you'll hear me refer to the focus point a lot. And just remember, that's where the audience is looking. And in the forms of misdirection, we'll be talking about what or how to control that focus point and what different methods controls or causes the spectator to look at that particular focus point. From now on, in these videos, don't think about what you don't want them to see. Concentrate on what you want them to see, and that will automatically create the misdirection that you need. Let's start with a simple coin vanish that every magician knows, and that's the French drop, where you have a coin hold here and you're going to let it drop into your hand. as you take it. So you just pretend to take it, the coin drops down in your hand, and then you make it disappear because everybody thinks it's over here. So let's talk about how that works and how it should work when you do it right. In our first form of misdirection, we're going to be talking about eye movement and a little bit of body language movement. But the eye movement is probably the single strongest piece of misdirection that a magician has in his arsenal for close-up magic. That and body language are probably the two best things. A spectator will look where you're looking. So if I look that direction, the spectator looks that direction. If I look that direction, the spectator looks that direction. If I look up, the spectator will look up. If I look down, the spectator will look down. So we have to take advantage of that. Also movement, any movement, if the hand moves to there, the spectators will try to follow the hand. If the hand moves over to here, the spectators' eyes and their thoughts will try to follow the hand. If this hand moves up, they'll follow it up. If it moves down, they'll follow it down. Now, there's one other factor. Let's say you have two things moving at the same time, which you do in a French drop. You drop the coin, you have two hands moving. Well, which one are they going to watch? This is why we start combining pieces of misdirection and controls that control the focus point. They'll do the one that the most items follow the focus point or create the focus point. So basically, if we take the coin, okay, like this, and we drop it and blow, they'll think the coin is gone and not notice the hand. So what happened here? We take the coin, okay, the French drop, we drop it, okay, we slowly let this hand just set aside as we move this hand to a focus point. Notice how my eyes are looking at the hand. My hand is moved right up to the focus point. And if I want to do it even a little more, I can create an additional action that blows on it. And now it's gone. All of those movements convinced the spectator that the coin is in this hand when actually it's over here from the French drop, and nobody would notice that. So let's just try it a little bit slower, okay? And just watch, okay? Like that. And it's gone. Because they followed this hand all the time. Whoop, whoop, gone. They followed it because I followed it with my eyes. I blew on it to create a focus point there. That's another action at the focus point. Okay? And I blew on it. So it had 3 different focus points. It moved from here to here. Okay, that's 1. I looked at it. That's 2. Actually, 4 different focus points. My head turned to it. That created a focus point. That's 4. I blew on it, and 5. So I showed 5 different things there that convince them the coin is in this hand. They're not even going to pay a bit of attention to this hand because it really it was never in the focus point of it. So we do it like this. This hand just casually drops away. Boom. Now, a lot of magicians will say, very quickly move this hand down to the side or move it down to the side. You don't really have to. The focus point doesn't have to shift very much. I can go from here to here, boop, and it does the same thing. It's still over here, but it does the same thing. You don't have to drop it down. You just all I did is I moved the focus point from here to here. Just a matter of a few inches. So we take the coin, gone. You see that? Everything shows it. Boop, gone. Implies that it went up in the air there. Just a subtle little difference. You can even go so far as to, whoop, and that also makes his hand look natural and keeps the focus point on this hand. And all I did is I gave one more gesture that puts the focus point on this hand. Okay? For example, I'll add another gesture that moves the focus point over to this hand. We drop the coin, we blow on it, snap our fingers, we point, whoop, it's gone. And all the time, I just dropped it into a finger palm here. So, see, the focus point was moved to here, not to there. So, one more focus point. I actually used, in this case, the dirty hand to show the focus point, to create a focus point. See, watch. Okay, so see how I create the focus point over here? Now, let's talk a little bit more about eye movement. It does not take much. You know, a lot of people say, well, I got caught when I did that. Yeah, because they give away one of those focus points. If I go here and just, I don't have to do much, just as quick, just a blink down to that hand, just a very subtle, unconscious eye movement down to this hand. That very temporarily shifts the focus point back here and then back. But just the fact that you shifted the focus point from this hand to this hand says it wasn't there. If I turn back and I look at this hand for any reason, then the focus point shifts back to there, and now that's what they're watching. You want them watching this hand. Look at that. See how I'm doing that? But watch. Now they're, even if I just make it, look at that. Big difference. I mean, that's such a subtle difference, but a huge difference. Now there is no focus point. This hand moved, this hand's still out here, okay? My eyes are not really doing anything, my body's not really doing anything. So this is not a vanish, okay? Because it looks like you're doing something. There's no focus point in the picture. But if we go like this, look at that. Now, I did something wrong there, and I'll explain it. It's subtle. The focus point's supposed to be in this hand. Now's when the focus point will change. Okay? Now I can look back at the spectator. Before the last move, I did it accidentally, but I caught myself doing it, is I looked back at the camera while I was vanishing this coin. Should never happen. You want them to see this hand go empty. And if I'm looking at the camera, you lose that. What's the difference between this and that? Big difference, yeah? This versus that. Big difference. So that's basically the type of things we're going to talk about today. I am going to give you a couple more examples. Let's talk about a card routine with it. Now, on a card routine, tons of misdirection. But let's just talk about a simple one that a lot of magicians do. Let's talk about a top palm. So basically, this would be a top palm. I just bring it back like that and bring it up into palm position. Now, if I create just a little bit of misdirection, then nobody will see it. And it doesn't take much. It can be just as simple as just reaching up here and scratching my head while I'm doing it. And look at that, the palm is already done. And then reaching back and take the card. and it's done. I wouldn't be flashing it like that. I would have it down where it wouldn't show. But this is to show you the movements, not the concealment of the card. Watch this. Okay, I'm looking at the cards. I've just maybe done some kind of a false shuffle or anything like that. And I look at the cards, but I want a top palm. All I really have to do is just something as simple as look up at you. And then I can look back down and tap. During that brief second, you'll look up to me, but that's when I palm the card. Okay? And then I come back down and I tap. So now I've done two things. Okay? I look up at you. That causes you to look away. This is why I do the move there. Okay? And as simple as that. So now I've palmed the coin. Okay? I look back down and I move the focus point over to here by looking at this card, not this one, and tapping there with this hand. So everybody is going to be looking here. Nobody's even going to suspect that hand with the card in it there. Kind of neat, yeah? Okay, and let's talk about one more item before we call it a day. Misdirection on stage. We want to control the focus point. And that's a very simple thing to do in many, many, many cases. For example, well, let's say we got a really big stage and you want to bring an elephant on stage right. Well, all you simply need to do is create a focus point on stage left. And if you bring the elephant out in a manner that does not create another focus point, it can create a focus point, but it can't be stronger than your focus point on stage left. If you do that, then nobody will see the elephant walk on stage. There's some really excellent examples of that. I'll try and show you one later on it. Might even put a link to one on the. I'll try and put a link to one of the examples I'm talking about in the instructions in the comments in this video, where you can see a really good example of how that works. Now, how can we control that focus point on stage left? Well, there are a lot of different ways. All you can do, say you've got 3 or 4 people on stage. If you've got somebody standing on stage left, all you really need to do is take their body language, turn it to stage left, and everybody will look over that way. If it's on stage, an eye movement probably won't work as well. But a body language will. If you turn and look over there, everybody's going to look over there, especially if you've got 3 or 4 other cast members on stage doing it. If you're on a stage with a spotlight, just have somebody over there, your dancing girl or whatever you want to use as the misdirection. Just have your spotlight move over to that person. Say you're using a spotlight. Well, the moment that spotlight moves over, everybody's eyes will follow the spotlight, and during that movement, and while it's over there, you can just slowly creep an elephant or a tiger or another prop or whatever you want out on stage right, and people will not see it if you do it right. Takes some practice, yes. Easy? No, it's not easy. But the big-time pros do it all the time. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and please subscribe to my channel. A lot more videos like this to come, and leave a comment. I'd really love to hear what you have to say. Tell me what you liked about it. If you have a question about misdirection, post it. I'll try and do a video on it or get back to you. Misdirection is probably something I work on in magic more than any other item, and it probably has helped my magic more than anything that I do in magic. So tune in, subscribe, hit the like button, and hope to see you in the next video.